All right, guys, we are live according to StreamYard. Mike Kadlick is looking down. Tayler Kyles is looking away. No, he's not. We're good. What's up,
Hi.
guys? You
What's
froze
going
on
on?
me for a second. Everybody's good. Yeah, we're here. It's late. And it it is what it is. If you stayed up all the way through, you saw what we saw, which was the Patriots falling to 1-2 and a 24-3 loss to the Jets. And there's so much to say about this. So I'll let you guys, really get going here. But just to get everybody primed, yes, we're going to talk about Drake Maye, but he's not the story. We're going to talk about Jacoby Brissett, but he's not the story. We're going to talk about a lot of different things that went on here. But number one was just, an ass kicking, almost worse than anything we've seen in terms of just looking like feeble. This is as sad a performance as we've seen from a Patriots team, at least offensively, that I can remember. And I mean, that's saying a lot considering what we've gone through in the past couple of seasons. This was really hard to watch. And my conclusion after watching all of it with the same issues that you have, which is receivers, which I don't know whether they can or can't separate, an offensive line that's banged up and has people in there who just don't belong and can't really block. Jacoby Brissett trying like hell to stay alive and make things happen. What you have right now, guys, I'm afraid is a problem without a solution. And this is where you're kind of at in terms of how you're looking at this team right now. So I guess starting with you guys, were you surprised at how rough it was? You knew it might be a little bit rough coming in, but were you surprised at how rough overall? And we'll start offensively because defensively, there's some things. The defense left a few things to be desired: missed tackles, some effort, some dumb penalties, some late hits. But offensively is where we're going to focus a lot of our attention. What do you think? What did we see tonight? What happened?
Good answer.
We saw what happened. We saw what happens when you start having to get desperate at offensive line. They had Caden Wallace at left tackle. Obviously, we're all excited about his potential, but he wasn't starting, I think, for a reason. Run blocking's been very good. Pass protection, it seemed like, was an issue going back to the preseason. Obviously, that popped back up. Michael Jordan has to leave the game, gets replaced by Zach Thomas. David Andrews even, it's really not his fault. I hate giving him crap, but the fact that they got in so many obvious passing situations created too many chances where Quinnen Williams and him were
Williams
one-on-one.
Is right across from him, yeah.
Obvious mismatch. Like, you never want David Andrews to have to deal with those elite interior rushers one-on-one. You're just going to get beaten those. And we saw that last week as well with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. Then right guard, obviously, Layden Robinson, he's going to be up and down, but usually you'd like him to be the only guy on the offensive line who really is fluctuating in terms of his style of play. And then Mike Nwenu. I mean, this tackle situation, he's been pretty good at tackle in his career. Last year we saw against like TJ Watt and Khalil Mack, those guys gave him problems. But now this is 2 weeks in a row where he had a mental error, it looked like in the beginning of the game, where he just missed a blitzer. Quincy Williams, he gets right up the gut with Jacoby Brissett untouched. And then there was another play where a defender blew right by him. So, I mean, you have guys playing out of position. You have young guys that are being forced to start. You have backups in the lineup. Obviously, the left guard spot has only been occupied by backups. So as much as you want to say, Jacoby Brissett, XYZ, it's an impossible situation when the offensive line is in the state that it is, and you can't even get to the run game really until the second half because you get behind and you get stuck in so many bad situations that you really can't go to your bread and butter. So, it's such a hard thing to try to have anything productive when you analyze the offense because they were just having plays blown up before anything could get going. It was nice seeing Demario Douglas get involved finally, and when he did, he actually looked good. Even the first target where he reverses field just for a yard, at least looked fun, but really that's the only positive to take away from what was just a putrid offensive performance, and you really can't expect much more against a veteran, talented Jets defense with so many holes on the offensive line.
Yeah, I know we're going to get into the Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye thing, and that's going to be probably one of the main things we talk about here, but to me, it's so hard to put much, if any, at all of the blame on Jacoby because then you see Drake Maye go out there and the same kind of stuff happens, right? And he was able to be a little bit more mobile. He got the first down with his legs at one point, but you look at Jacoby Brissett and this offensive line, what they're not doing for him. Over a 50% pressure rate in the first half against him. He was sacked 5 times throughout the game. Maye was sacked twice, 7 total sacks, 10 quarterback hits on Jacoby. He was getting peppered back there. Like, could not do a single thing. And I don't know if it's more I guess I do know at this point, it feels like it's more so the injuries than it is the actual skill on the field. Because when the guys are out there and the Bedard and Lowe's were out there, and when they sort of had a stable-ish line throughout training camp and even the first game against Cincinnati, they were okay. But ever since then, it's just gone downhill. They can't do anything. You mentioned the time to throw. Jacoby's getting the ball out quick. He's getting the ball out quick because he has to get the ball out quick. He's not getting it out quick because the offense is running smooth and they have these nice pick plays set up and pops wide open. That happened once or twice. Besides that, it's just he's running around for his life out there. And kudos to Jacoby Brissett. That dude gets buried, planted, play after play after play, and he does everything he can to get up. And so I know there's going to be a ton of talk on the quarterbacks. I have a hard time. And now, granted, again, we're going to talk about Jacoby more. He missed Austin Hooper on an easy completion down the field, crossing the middle. Something maybe Drake Maye hits, but at the end of the day, hard to blame it on him. Offensive line, tough showing. I don't know how it improves because they continue to get hurt. Caden Wallace left the game at the end with a knee injury.
Jordan left the game with a knee
Jordan
injury.
left the game. Exactly. So it's just there are so many more questions than answers heading into week 4. And it felt good after week 1. It really felt good after a week 1 win. 2 straight wins now, a close one, and now a blowout. It's going to be hard to turn this thing around right now. I know it's early, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's getting late. It's getting late early, as they say. And that's, kind of the worry here. And, you mentioned it like, yeah, you're right. If you get everybody that you have, if you put your A-team offensive line together, you at least feel that you have a chance to be competitive. It's still one of the weaker units in the NFL. And you're hoping that if you get some guys back from injury, that you can kind of get to maybe mid. The tackle problem is going to be a problem. You've got people playing out of position. And yeah, Taylor, you mentioned it. It is a surprise to see Michael Onwenu struggle at right tackle when he's played there before and had success there and been actually borderline elite there. So it is a little weird seeing that happen as well. And it was equal opportunity across the board. I mean, you have Caden Wallace unofficially, half a sack, 3 pressures. Michael Jordan, 2 pressures. Andrews gives up 2 sacks, 4 pressures. Robinson, 2.5 sacks, 5 pressures. He got picked on a bit.
Not good.
Not good. Onwenu, half a sack, 4 pressures, and then Zach Thomas in his short time. Trey Jacobs, who I just learned is a person today.
He's a Patriot.
1 sack and 3 pressures. So yeah, again, it's coming from everywhere. It's leaky, and there's not much you can do. But on top of that, it was sloppy. There was miscommunication. It's like they've never seen a blitz before, and they're not picking up stuff. You have that play where they try to run the bootleg right into somebody's arms. Like that stuff is just kind of bad football, not just guys being physically manhandled by superior athletes on the other side. So there was a lot going wrong here, on this side. But to your point on Jacoby, I don't know how you can feel anything but bad for him. Like, he's doing exactly what his job description basically is this: come in here and get killed until we feel it's okay to put the kid in. And he knows it, and he's doing it, and he's a leader, and they respect him, and he's saying the right things, and he's getting up. But I mean, I don't know what to do now. I mean, I don't know what you do in this situation. Again, we're not getting into do you play Drake Maye yet, because Mayo, it could happen. It could happen before he's ready, because Brissett might die out there. Like, I don't know.
You're not wrong, honestly. Like, watching, you really do get the sense of, like, are we going to see someone die on a football? And, like, that sounds crazy, but truly, there was that last hit I think he took where they had to peel him off the ground. Like, too many times Jacoby has gotten hit. And for a tough guy who wants to obviously show that and bounce up and obviously always does get up, there's been way too many times where he's down for a while and you're like, oh, God, is this going to be the one?
Every single time he's down, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, Drake Maye is going to get loose. He's going to stay plastered to the turf. And then he somehow just peels himself off. And guys grab him up, whatever. And it's like, man, how many more of these can he take? Like, not just mentally, but physically. Like, he's going to get hurt at some point. And I did like the attitude after the game. Like you said, John, you feel bad for him when he says, I'm going to get up no matter what. In a quarterback. But at the end of the day, right now, it's way too much. It's not sustainable at all. It's not how you want to run. It's not how you want to run an offense. And you feel for him, but you also wonder how does this ever get better? Because 3 weeks in a row, it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
I'm saving my ammo for the talk, but like we got to get there at some point because this is such a bad situation they're in where I really don't think there is a right answer because of how bad
the QB talk and if they should actually make a move.
Well, look, again, we'll get there because I want to read into Mayo's comments, but sure. Okay. So, we have to get there a little bit. I don't know where to get there, and I'm not going to take a victory lap because Maye played and he lived, but like, it has nothing to do with that. And anything that I have to do with that, any point I've ever made regarding Drake Maye is almost exactly what happened tonight. You're going to play him. He's going to get sacked. He's probably going to throw a pick or two. I think he'll live. I don't think his brain will be shattered, but it's going to be pretty freaking gross. But then also, he's going to rip a ball to Demario Douglas and do some stuff with his feet, and I think possibly get better because of the skill set that he has. I don't know if it makes him better or not better. I just don't know what you're going to – as I keep saying, I don't know what you're waiting for, and I don't know how it's going to get better. I think it's always – he's going to be green, and he's going to be – imperiled. And when he goes out there at any point in the season, I think waiting for this perfect opportunity when things gel and everything is okay and it's safe may never come. So I do think at some point you are in a position where, I don't know if you're going to kind of just go there before you think he's ready. I know, Taylor, you were saying that is when they think he's ready, they'll play him. They may opt to do it because they don't know what else to do. They might just, we can't do this again, so we have to do something else. And teams do that all the time.
Well, I think that's a good point, too, quickly, just because your point last week that the three of us went in circles about with Drake Maye's got to play. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. The way tonight ended and the way tonight happened makes it an actual conversation now because they did get blown out and they did sit Jacoby down and Drake Maye did come out and he did look okay. And then,
he did get
as
hit.
we'll have in a few minutes, and he did get hit and he did get up off the ground. But then as Gerard Mayo was asked after the game, which I know we're going to play it, but he says, I don't know if we're going to make it, if we're going to make a change or not. So he kept the door open as well. He didn't completely shut it.
I have the bite. We'll play it because Gerard Mayo has now spoken this quarterback controversy into existence by what he didn't say.
Felt like we had a good game, X's and O's wise. We just didn't go out there and execute, and that's what it comes down to every Sunday. I told the guys, this is NFL football. This is what it is, and we just have to be better. So the guys will be off the next few days. Told them to, get their minds right, get their bodies right, and then come back and be ready to work. Got a bonus Monday. Got another good team that we're going to go against next week. We just got to be better. I just thought it was a good opportunity for him to go out there with the ones and put a few drives together. He moved the ball. We'll watch the film and evaluate.
You said you were going to evaluate the film based on the quarterback performance. Is there a possibility you consider a change?
I don't know. Look, we talk about every single week. You're competing for a job, so we'll get together as a coaching staff and see where it goes.
So there it is. Up until this point, and again, you always compare it not to what was said, but to what's been said in the past. And unequivocally, Jacoby's our guy. We have faith in Jacoby. We have faith in Jacoby. We have faith in Jacoby. And in this case, it's I don't know. And so that's where we're at. Is he said I don't know. And here's where I'm at. I believe. And this is why I thought it was going to happen. I thought Maye was going to start week 1 because I thought Mayo always wanted him to. I think that's what I read off of the way Mayo was talking about it. I think he realized at a certain point, I think I want to go with the kid. And at that point, Van Pelt was like, dude, we've been installing this stuff for Jacoby and he's been running with the ones and I don't think we can make this switch. And maybe cooler heads prevailed and Wolf and let's preserve him. And okay, fine, we'll wait. But I think Mayo wants to see what the kid's got. And I think if it was anyone but San Francisco and if a million other linemen didn't just get hurt, I think it's a no-brainer he starts next week. I'm still not sure, though.
So my issue
Gather
with
your
this,
thoughts.
I understand that Drake Maye gives him a better chance to win. Like, he's more mobile, he can give you more, and there's more to fear when he's in the game. I've never disagreed with that. It's why I thought that he was going to end up playing in October, because I didn't think that Jacoby would be able to play well enough that if Drake was lighting it up in practice, there would be a justifiable reason to not play Drake Maye. My thing is, I didn't want them to play him because they're panicking, because they're like, oh, crap, like, he's not ready, but we have to. that's the worst case scenario, because I understand he survived and he got hit. Like, I didn't think he was going to shatter. I'm the one who's been saying he is mentally tough. He'll be able to take hits and he'll be fine. But we're talking about going into an offensive line with a left side completely made up of backups.
Right.
Like, at least when we were talking about this and him coming in, I'm thinking, okay, if it's going to be Vidarian Lowe, City So, Layden Robinson a battle, David Andrews, Mike Nwenu at his natural position, and Chukso Okorafor ideally at right tackle. I knew it may not have been great in the run game, but I thought at least in pass protection, you have a bunch of guys, especially on the right side, who have had successful NFL careers to some degree at those positions. Now, I just think you're putting him in a terrible spot where, yeah, he can make more plays, but the bad habits, like, one game they may not pop up, 2 games, maybe even 10 games, you don't really see any bad habits creep in. But I find it very hard to believe that he can get pressure potentially on 50% of his dropbacks and not start to come up with some really bad habits, start dropping his eyes to the rush. He even said himself that he's took a stupid sack. Like, we need to also remember he is a rookie. Like, we're not talking about, oh, they have Aaron Rodgers on the bench. Like, he's still going to have to make his mistakes, take his lumps. And you're going to have him put in that position behind an offensive line that's not even just like fine, where, okay, if you can kind of scheme around them.
Right.
I don't know how you scheme around this group anymore, because no offensive line is built to sustain multiple injuries. So I really want to be clear. I never thought that Drake Maye wasn't better than Jacoby Brissett or a better option. I just didn't want to screw up his potential development plan because you're scared and because you just think, oh, we have to throw him out there because Jacoby's just getting killed. It's like, well, what do you think is going to happen? Even if he does get out of some pressure, like, he can't get out of a pressure and a sack when he's getting pressured inside and outside. So that's my biggest thing. If it happens, then sure, I was wrong, but I'm still adamant in my point that they shouldn't be rushing him out there.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. And it's not rushing. I actually think it's like the people in the camp of play him and people saying this kind of stuff you're saying are kind of saying the same thing. Like, it's going to be bad for him. What we don't know is, will it affect him adversely going forward, which is, will struggling and running for your life and feeling a rush and getting sacked and taking hits change the way you play quarterback forever? Or like, have you shell shocked? Or, again, now Bryce Young is the cautionary tale here. Yep. For everybody seeing what's happened here. Will that happen? Or is it just kind of part of everybody's growth and development? Maybe these are extreme circumstances with how bad it is currently with the state of the offensive line. But my contention has always been, it's top 3 picks, top 5 picks at quarterback usually go to teams that are bad and they struggle. And you're seeing it everywhere right now. Like, Jaden Daniels can't complete a pass past the line of scrimmage because he's under duress. Caleb is running for his friggin' life. Like, I think that's kind of the reality of anybody, but also historically, these guys just play. These top 3 I went back and looked at it just out of curiosity. I'm like, what happens to these guys? I went back to 2008. 29 starting quarterbacks taken in the top 7 picks. 29 quarterbacks taken in the top 7 picks. 19 of them played week 1. Another 6 played the majority of their team's games, like 9 being Tua, and everybody else was 12 and 13. Jared Goff played 7. The only 2 quarterbacks who did not play any meaningful games or snaps who were taken in the top 3 or 4 picks in the last 15 years, 16 years, were Jamarcus Russell and Trey Lance. Now, if you're telling me that Drake Maye is in that category, is in that camp of clueless, then yeah, maybe he waits a year. But everybody else plays them, and it's varying degrees of success. There's no book that says you struggle early behind a bad offensive line, you have a terrible career. There's some guys who started bad, threw a bunch of picks, got sacked a ton, ended up being solid. There's others who were actually pretty good in year 1 and got worse. So I don't know that we know what's going to happen, but I know people are scared, but I don't know that it's definitive. So you're kind of like what do we do here? Like, you definitely don't want to risk it, because if you screw it up, that's really, really, really bad. We just don't know if you screw it up. So it's like, how cautious are you being now,
And I think that they're going to be as cautious and careful as possible with this decision. However, this is the week that they're going to sit and actually talk about it this week, I think. And Gerard Mayo told us that. But after what happened tonight, I think you kind of have to. And they went into this thing from day one, where we have a plan and we are going to bring in a veteran. What? You don't
I'm
agree?
just so scared. I'm just so scared. I'm
gonna
not
be
even.
okay.
I don't even.
But do you agree that
I
now?
get it,
but
but
do
dude,
you
I get
agree
it.
that
I
now
just-
is the time to make the decision? Not make the decision, but you can have a discussion about it now, right?
You have to.
Okay.
Because they did it. Like
Of course. Okay.
I can disagree all I want, but I just don't like. I hate the idea. If
We
you
got
don't
'em.
have two
Ladies
backups
and
on one
gentlemen, we
side,
got him.
I still am in the same camp, but I don't think they should.
I don't think so either. But
Again, like
now,
you talk about all the quarterbacks that were drafted first, like even if they had bad offensive lines, they have an entire side of people who weren't even starting in like spring practice spring practices. Again, I understand the argument. I get it. And now that Mayo's open, the genie's
He opened the
bottle,
door.
whatever the hell, now it is going to be a talking point, but
Pandora
it
doesn't
just
go
doesn't
back in the
feel
box.
Right.
Sorry.
Right, Pandora's box.
So a couple of things now that I kind of have my head on straight a little bit here is the Patriots went into this season with their plan at quarterback, and it was we're gonna sign a veteran, Jacoby Brissett. We're gonna draft a guy at 3 at Drake Maye, and we're gonna use this time and not screw this up like we did with Mac Jones. And Elliott Wolf was here. He saw that play out. It did not work. They threw Mac Jones into the fire week 1 behind. Eventually, and not year 1, but year 2 and year 3, a bad offensive line, an incapable offensive system around him, and we saw what happened. So I think that they want to be very, very careful with the way they do this. So I don't think that this week, after what happened, it's going to be push the panic button and put Drake Maye in. It's going to be, okay, we have 10 days before our next game in San Francisco. We need to sit down and we need to make a rash not make a rash decision. Let's make
a rational decision.
Yeah, let's make a rational, calculated decision. Myself, Gerard Mayo, Elliott Wolf, Alex Van Pelt, whoever else is in that circle of trust, and see what happens. Now, with where was I? I forgot where I was.
I'll say
if you got something.
I mean, bottom line, man, I still do think that Drake Maye going in there, I think maybe he would help with some of the pressure. Obviously, his athleticism, he can run for more, he can extend more plays. If he gets out of the pocket, you're really scared as a defense because Jacoby Brissett may extend and find Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper like 10, 15 yards downfield, but Drake Maye can throw it like 40 yards downfield. So, of course, he does put you in a better position, but from what I've seen with Jacoby, like I just don't know how much Drake Maye can do. Again, as a rookie who's still going to make his own mistakes, still needs to get acclimated to an NFL defense himself. I'm just terrified of this turning into a situation where he just has to run for his life. And beyond the bad habits, like what if he gets hurt? That's the reality. Like the number of times I've seen Jacoby Brissett put in pressure situations where he literally can't even get out of the pocket if he wants to. That's the thing that really worries me. So
there are times though where you do kind of just have to do the thing where you throw the baby in the pool. Can you sink? Can you swim? Like
you're right.
Taking quarterbacks this
That's
early,
kind of where
taking
I've always
quarterbacks.
been.
I know, but now it kind of seems
Yeah.
like, okay, we played it safe for as long as we could. Now's the time where it's like, okay, we kind of stink. We need a life preserver. Hopefully the baby could grab a life preserver when we throw him in the damn pool and see what happens. Because at a certain point, you just need to say, hey, you're either going to work in this league or you're not, and we're going to do the best we can. And yeah, maybe it's a little early, but at the same time, these guys play early. Like, your Bryce Young got thrown into the fire, stunk. CJ Stroud got thrown into the fire, played very well.
We can't compare them.
But why? The Texans
they're literally on completely opposite ends of the spectrum where CJ Stroud walked into a team that was close enough to get to the playoffs and could support him.
People did not think that about
the year before.
People did not think that about
really
Houston
bad
last
the year
year.
before.
Who did they pick?
People did not think
the
that about
offensive line
Houston.
was better. Like
the offensive line
they
was
had
better,
so many injuries on the offensive line. It was somewhere they still got good
CJ
play.
Stroud made Nico Collins a lot better than he was. They had a rookie in Tank Dell. Like
Tank Dell was a big part of it too. Those were they were dynamic.
But he was a rookie too.
Nico Collins also did not have a quarterback throwing to him.
That was not a good.
Those guys
like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were on such opposite ends of the spectrum.
Of
if you're
course.
going to bring them up, you have to
I'm
acknowledge
sorry.
that Drake Maye is closer to Bryce Young's situation, where you might screw him up and put him in a situation that's so bad where you're like,
I don't think it's if you're going to put the Panthers here and the Texans here, where are the Patriots?
Patriots are like.
I think they're pretty much dead in the middle.
Right in the middle?
Yeah.
I would think that
the Patriots defense.
I would think that
we're
if
gonna
the
get
Patriots defense was playing. We need to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing
defense
for me. It'd be one thing if the defense was humming and was really locked in. I'd feel a little bit better, 100%. And that's where if they were playing like they did in week 1, yeah, it's closer to the Texans because they have a formidable defense, a good run game. the pass protection is where, they are not the Texans, obviously, but the defense isn't playing well. And John, do you want to set that up? Because we need to go in on them because their performance has been unacceptable.
We will. And again, they deserve to be talked about because it was a poor performance, but also you're simply doesn't matter. If they're the 85 Bears, you're not going to win this game if you have 98 yards of total offense heading into the last drive, which is I think where the Patriots were. So it wasn't great, but it's just not the story. Stop pressing the button. That's how you keep hearing things.
No, fall out of my ear. I got big ear holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, again, I think it's close.
Yeah.
I think it's closer to in terms of rawness and in terms of learning on the job, Drake May is closer to Anthony Richardson than it is to Stroud, who was, more of a pro type quarterback or whatever. But going to Mike's, and everyone thought,
I'm just going to say, I don't know if we want to be comparing Drake May to Anthony Richardson.
I'm saying everyone thought Richardson was too raw, and he went in there. The point is this.
And he still is. I'm just saying, it's like he makes the pretty throws, but it's like, that's like 20%. And then the other 80% is like.
But we have to accept that the guys are who they are. I think right now, Bryce Young just might not be good. I don't know if he was ruined. I think he was put in a bad situation, but he just might not be good. The only team that's ruined quarterbacks who have gone on leaving there and eventually looked okay several years later are the Jets. They did it with Geno, and they've done it with Darnold. But there's a few cases where somebody was legit ruined by a situation. In many cases, they might not have been good anyway. So we don't really necessarily know if it was the situation or the person, which again, it's not definitive. It's always going to be a bit of a shoulder shrug. And yeah, we'll get to the defense as well. We want to hear from Jacoby. We want to hear from Maye also because they addressed the quarterback situation. But we also want to tell you about our sponsors. We're going to start out, of course, with Prize Picks, #1 DFS app. You want to get after it here and sign up right now. And when you do, you play 5, you get $50 instantly in your account. It's that easy. Pick more, pick less. 2 to 6 players. Tons of fun. Mike Kadlick. Mike, how'd you do today? Did you go Jacoby under? You hit him?
2-0.
Let's go.
2-0. The Pats daily one hit, and then my own personal one hit as well. So we're back. We had Gibson more than 21.5 rushing yards. Breece Hall less than 100.5 total yards, and then myself and Taylor put together Demario Douglas more than 20.5 receiving yards, which we talked about, and then Garrett Wilson to have less than 23.5 yards on his longest reception. Finally, that one hit as well.
There we go, baby.
Good stuff on the Pats Daily and the Mike.
It was on Gonzo Island all day, and Gonzo did a good job there with Garrett Wilson for most of that game.
He also literally came within a fingertip of breaking that up. He was
the touchdown catch was a perfect throw, perft catch. You can't play. But again,
it was good recovery. He kind of got shoved off at first and then closed. I'm sorry.
Play 5, get 50. Use that code CLNS. That's all you have to do. Get in on Prize Picks right now. And we'll let you know about Game Time. You want to fly out to San Francisco for Drake May's first start of the year? Go check it out. Go check it out. Taylor, by the way, price some tickets, by the way, for when that announcement is made, because we're going to need you out there.
All right, start checking ticket prices.
Start checking it out. Download that Game Time app. You want to get in, you want to check out a game. I used Game Time. I went to see Pearl Jam on Tuesday.
Hey, nice.
I did. I used the Game Time app. I went to see Pearl Jam at Fenway. It was a ton of fun. You can do it too, and it's a great deal. Ticket prices go down. The closer you get to it, you get great deals, all-in pricing, so you know exactly what it is you're paying for your seat when you get there. Terrific seats to a great show. That was great. Use that code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Once again, download the Game Time app, code CLNS, and $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Guys, like I said, we will get to the defense. We'll get to some other things as well. But we do have to talk about a little bit more about, Drake May's debut here. And, we've talked theoretically, what would it look like if he played? Will it ruin him? Are we afraid? X, Y, and Z. Is there anything you saw today? I actually thought he looked more comfortable on his last snaps than he did on his first, even in the short time that he was in there. I really, really, really am bummed out that Gerard Mayo did not call timeout and let him actually go for the score there. I thought it was actually very weird to go into a 2-minute drill situation and then run out the clock when they could have gone for the end zone and tried to end that one with a touchdown. I think it would have been good for Maye and good for the team. So that was an odd choice. But anything you saw here that you think is, again, anything that we can look at and make any determinations off of, or it's impossible to given the circumstances?
Well, it's such a small sample size. I don't want to get crazy,
Exactly.
but he converted 2 4th and long situations, one with his legs, one with a nice throw to DeMario Douglas. So those were awesome to see. He did almost get picked on his first throw, like you mentioned. He said he was nervous getting out there, and I think maybe he still had a little bit of the jitters. You don't want to see him get slammed down, get sacked again, and lose his helmet. And he said, I need to see the tape again, but he said he probably shouldn't have taken at least one of those sacks. But the 4th down conversions, like that, is what Drake Maye gives you. Like we saw it in the preseason where they would get backed up into some bad situations, like against the Commanders, damn near in his own end zone, and he manages to convert on a 3rd and long. Like those are the things where you're like, all right, Drake gives you this. Or like Jacoby Brissett, maybe he does it in his own way, but Drake Maye, you expect those things more consistently. So I did like seeing that out of him.
And after nearly throwing that interception on his first pass attempt, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Like he's gonna get rattled, he's gonna get nervous, and he bounced back from it. You mentioned the conversions running with his legs. He does get sacked. I tweeted as a joke and said, wow, Drake Maye wouldn't get sacked there because
it was fun.
Everything was gonna, the same stuff that was gonna happen to Jacoby was gonna happen to Drake Maye. But then he came back and actually used his legs to get those first downs, which is something we don't normally see from Jacoby Brissett. So I think that was really the biggest takeaway was, look, although he is still gonna struggle behind this offensive line, you saw some of the reasons why people are like, hey, just throw the kid out here. John, you were talking about it last week, how, a guy that can dance back there, right? He can dance a little bit more back there. He can go get that first down. We saw a little bit of that tonight. I liked seeing that. And again, the bounce back after almost throwing an interception, I think is huge. He didn't panic. He didn't almost throw a second interception. He actually made a couple really nice throws down the stretch. So good on him. Yeah. It's a start, John. I do want to say quickly, just if they did go in there and score a touchdown, it would be so much worse than it is right now as far as you got to start. It would be like, remember when Jimmy Garoppolo went in and threw that touchdown to Rob Gronkowski in that Chiefs game? And then they asked Bill, like, hey, do you have a quarterback issue? And he just shrugged it off. Yeah, like it would have been like those kind of rumors if Drake went and scored a touchdown. But that being said, I thought he looked solid. Not much better, not much worse than Jacoby, but you can see the skill set kind of start to blossom a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a taste, right? It's a taste. Yeah. So, just a little but that I think that's what people kind of wanted. I mean, look, how many people did you jump out of your did it move a little? Did you jump out of your seat when he ripped that one into Douglas and it was like, oh, that's something, like
I was sitting in just complete fear, to be honest with you. I was just like, oh, why are you doing this?
The second everybody saw Drake Maye's helmet come on in the press box, we were all like, oh no, they're doing it. They're really gonna do it. They're gonna do it. He survived. Yes. He did survive. He didn't come off crying. He didn't come off with a broken thumb. He didn't land on his, like nothing happened.
I don't think any of us expected Drake was going to go out there and crumble. Like we see him in the locker room. This dude is freaking massive. Right. Like no one thinks that. It's just you have to be worried about what happens long term if this kind of thing happens. Where on one drive he can get knocked down 4 times and sacked twice. Right. Like that's the fear. I'm not worried about Drake Maye really necessarily. It's just like how this accumulates over time.
The fear isn't him getting hurt and coming off crying and being a sad boy and all that. The fear is that he goes out there and gets sacked so much that his internal clock is sped up and it's sped up permanently and he can't get over it, a la Mac Jones, a la Bryce Young, a la all of these other guys who go out here with crap around them and then they can't seem to bounce back on their second and third steps.
And to that point, Alex Van Pelt, when he's talked about his footwork and in his work with QBs, he has acknowledged that you don't want guys to go back to bad habits,
right?
And that can happen. So it's not even like this is something that we're making up. Van Pelt has acknowledged that, bad habits can start to creep back in. That's really my only fear. Like, is you're saying like, your jobs are tethered to this kid. I just didn't want him to go out there in this kind of situation where it's just because, things are so ugly. And it's not even that Jacoby Brissett was playing poorly.
Right.
It literally was just like, oh, this guy's getting killed. Let's see if Drake Maye can do something. Like, that's not what I wanted.
He wasn't even given an opportunity to play poorly. He just couldn't play football at all tonight. Interestingly enough, Patriots media availability for tomorrow, Gerard Mayo presser at 11, and Alex Van Pelt speaks at 11:15. Followed by Covington and Springer. So we'll get some splaining to do. We'll have some potentially more news. They will have watched the film at that point, I would think. They get that done basically on the
coaches
plane
are
ride
gonna do that
home.
tonight,
They do
yeah.
that right now, so they'll be able to have seen the film. Maybe they're going to beat around the bush and say, yeah, we watched the film, but we haven't talked. We haven't made a decision yet. But we may get some answers potentially on a quarterback decision tomorrow morning.
We may, and again, we go in circles. We go on circles on it a bit, but I will say again, nobody favors sitting him the entire year, right? Like I think in today's NFL, I think from a business perspective, I think you can't do that anymore. And the reason you rush these guys in is less because they give you the best chance to win and less because you think that they're ready and more because I got to evaluate them by the end of year 2 to decide whether or not I want to jump ship. And because then you got to move on to the next thing and you don't want to be stuck in no man's land. So if you sit a full year and you play them in year 2 and it's like, well, I guess I'll give him another one. And then you're kind of, you're nowhere. So I think that's part of it is learning on the job. You want them to learn to play the position, but you want to learn if they can play the position, at least to see enough in there. So it's partially evaluation there. And I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. I think it's meant to be ugly. Drake Maye, for to his credit, he went in there. He was pretty honest in the locker room after, asked about, how he felt out there and, whether or not he kind of sort of thinks he should be starting.
Say your initial impression is comparing your NFL snaps to.
We were in kind of a no huddle kind of scenario, so a little different than kind of command the huddle and being in there calling some plays. But at the same time, moving fast and get down in the red zone is tough. We had a few plays in the red zone is tough. Those guys do a good job, and these defenses mix it up. So got to be quick with my decisiveness and try to get the ball out.
Gerard was asked if you guys would make a quarterback change, and he didn't say no. If you were asked to start, do you feel like you would be ready?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of what I'm doing. Week in, week out. Be ready to, when my name is called, when my number's called, go out there and try to make some plays. So anytime I've been preparing like I'm the starter, and at the same time, Kobe, I've been there for Kobe. He battled tonight. Kept on getting up every time. Jogging off, encouraging the guys on the sideline. So he made some great throws tonight.
My bad. These things are slipping out of my ears.
Are you all right, buddy? You keep pressing play on things?
It's my ear holes.
He keeps pressing play.
Oh, my God.
Full disclosure, behind the scenes, we have AirPods in to hear John at home. And Tayler keeps messing with the thing, and every time he touches it,
Fixing
its music plays on the laptop. That's where we're at right now. That's what's going on at
It's Dumbo's problem. My bad. I'm sorry, everybody.
1:04 a.m. here at MetLife Stadium.
Is it 1:04?
So,
It is 1:04.
Damn. So that's May talking about things.
1:04, and we have 1,100 people watching us. Thank you all. We appreciate you.
Let's hear about let's hear Jacoby and hear what he has to say when he was kind of pressed, including Tayler Kyles getting up in his business.
Kind of telling you they were going to let Drake take that last series, and how do you feel about that?
Told me he's going in. I mean, what? I'm not going to argue. I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, he just told me he's going in.
And then I guess Gerard said before, I don't know what we do going forward. The coach don't want to look at it. Do you still feel like it's your job, or?
Oh, of course. I mean, I don't make personnel decisions. My job is to go out there, get ready to play, put good football on tape, and put my best foot forward.
Obviously, the pressure made it rough, but did you feel outside of the miss to Austin Hooper that there were maybe any throws that you could have made but weren't able to tonight?
I don't know. We'll see.
He was asked about a possible change of quarterback, and his first quote was, "I don't know." I'm not trying to get you to say any kind of way. I'm just curious how you feel.
Frosty, Tayler.
When I tell
Frosty.
you his words were, "I don't know," after review of the situation.
Coach, that's. I'm not going to overreact to something that I didn't hear. So, yeah.
He does not like those questions.
No,
at all. He doesn't enjoy it.
No.
He answers questions. He takes accountability. He understands that the offense runs through him and that things are struggling, and he puts the blame on himself, and he talks good about everything. But whenever he's asked about the Drake Maye situation, whether he's the starter, he says yes, and he says nothing else. And look, I can't blame him. Excuse me. He's in a difficult position. But you can tell that it gets to him and it bothers him. He doesn't want to talk much about it at all.
And it's wild that it's gotten to this point and we're 3 weeks in. Even in the locker room, we've acknowledged he just seems like he's tired of this situation already.
Yeah.
which is not what you want to see. Obviously you didn't even get to the quarter mark of the season yet. So, I tried to, the only reason I asked him is because I know people are saying, oh, he's holding on to the ball. He's not throwing open receivers. Last week, that was the case. Even the week before, that was on film. But it was also impossible to say that in the same breath without mentioning that literally if he doesn't throw to his first read, he's getting pressured and has to move. That's why I just wanted to say, were there any throws you could have made? So we could have been like, nah, not really. I did the best I could or something, but he wasn't having it.
And talking about how he doesn't like to answer these questions, right? And you mentioned that it stinks that we're in the third week of this and it's already happening. The day that they called the Gerard Mayo press conference to announce that Jacoby was the starter, we went in the locker room 20 minutes after Mayo told us and asked Jacoby about it. And he was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. You guys made this a thing. I've been the starter, and didn't want to answer questions about it then. So I get that he's done a really good job. I think he's done a good job inside the locker room. Drake Maye seems to respect him. There seems to be an understanding of what his position is.
David Andrews has raved about him.
David Andrews loves him. They've been teammates forever, or they were teammates and they've known each other. Yeah, they've known each other forever. But, and I almost just touched my ear pod again.
See?
Mine's falling out a little bit
Big
too.
ear
We're
boys.
good. But long story short is he doesn't like to answer these questions. And I feel like, I don't know if he just doesn't want to talk about it, or I don't know if secretly deep down it kind of bothers him that Drake Maye's in the shadow, but that's why he was brought here. And I think he understands that. So it's a little odd to me that he deflects on that so often.
But it's a shitty, it sucks.
It's a tough position to be in.
You have a job, and every second it's like, so do you think you've done enough for the other guy to take your job yet? Have you done poorly enough to be replaced yet? Like, that's basically the question everyone's asking or dancing around every single week to him, and it's gotta suck. He knows what he's
and
here
for lack of a better way to explain it, right now his job is to be on a team with no job security for 1 year, get paid $8 million, which, to be fair, is a ton of money. But
no amount, you could not pay me any amount of money to take the beating he's taken through 3 weeks. I don't care.
Like, he deserves, but my point is he deserves more than that.
Yeah, of course.
And his job is to literally be here for 1 season, no job security at 31, to get his shit rocked until Drake Maye's ready to play football. And if he's bad, he's gonna be constantly asked about it. So he's in a no-win situation here. Again, he understands it. You make a lot of money playing football, but it's not easy, and I think he's doing the best he can.
And he's fighting for his life out here. Like, he's trying to make plays. He's extended stuff like the play to Hooper where Caden Wallace got called for holding, but he's doing that every week. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. We will talk about it, but the defense and the run game were supposed to be how this team won games. You got down so much that you couldn't go to your run game. And then your defense 2 weeks in a row has just not held up their end of the bargain for a unit that's supposed to be one of the best in the league.
Well, and so now I'll ask you this, because they're talking about it on the broadcast as well. And again, we're into territory that I don't know necessarily matters on the who gives you the best chance to win, because again, I don't think wins and losses are the point of this season. It's development, and finding out whether, the younger players can play and getting them acclimated, but also not getting them killed. That being said, there is zero respect for both Brissett's ability to get the ball downfield or the Patriots receivers to be able to get open downfield. And that's affecting things. And it was, eventually that bill was going to come due, right? Like, they imposed their will on the Bengals, even though the Bengals knew it was coming. We're putting 8 and 9 guys in the box. They still rammed it down their throats. They ran really well against Seattle, and the Jets were like, nah, not doing it. And their linebackers were just coming, and everybody was just attacking the line of scrimmage. What's wrong?
I think Ramondre averaged like 5 yards a carry, to be fair. He just didn't run a lot.
But he only had 6 attempts.
Yeah, like Gibson, I thought looked good. The defense, the Jets, oh my gosh, the Jets defense did do a great job swarming. Every time I thought there was going to be a big play, you just see 3 guys converge. I do want to give them credit, but I don't even think the run game was a problem. I just think they got behind so fast.
They weren't able to run the ball because they got behind on defense so fast.
Yeah, Ramondre was 6 for 23, but again, that's fine. Like, they didn't establish a run game at any point in time here. They got themselves into second and third and longs here. They weren't running as well on first down, and they had some issues, and they never got it going per se. But there was really they're almost daring them to beat them in a way that they know that they can't be beaten. And again, I just don't know how it's going to work for these guys going forward. And look, they had been run blocking better than they'd been pass blocking the first couple of weeks, and it caught up with them again today with whatever you had up front and the ability to be able to kind of get out, behind those guys. And and have success on the ground. So I don't know. I don't know how you have it going forward here. But the question is, if you have somebody like Maye back there and you can respect his ability to get the ball downfield, does that open things up? And therefore, does it make his life easier where he's in less danger than Jacoby Brissett is in, when they're like, we're just going to come at you? I mean, Jacoby Brissett's blitz numbers, and probably the major blemish on him, I think, throughout the first 3 games is when pressured, which is a lot, he's having a tough time getting off that first read. The numbers aren't as good. Do you respect Maye's ability to both escape pressure and or get the ball downfield to the way that you have to play things a little bit differently? I know the book on rookie QBs is throw a bunch of guys in coverage and make them try to read a defense rather than send a bunch of people at them. I don't know, but I'm curious, how do you think that would change what we're looking at on offense? Might that give you a little bit of breathing room?
Only if the protection can be a little bit better, right? I think, again, saw the bits and pieces of his ability to extend the play today and break the pocket and get 5-10 yards, but that can only happen so often. I still think he's going to get back there and he's still going to get pummeled by some of these defensive lines if they can't block. And there's free rushers coming in. You can't just get away from a free rusher. It happened today where Mike Onwenu just completely whiffed on a guy and he came in untouched. Drake Maye's going to have a hard time getting out of that. Now, they can scheme up some quarterback runs if they want to. They can try. And again, I'm not saying to go back there and run QB power with the guy or anything, but they can get him out of the pocket. They can move him around a bit. They can move the pocket better with him because he's more mobile than trying to get Jacoby out in space. But I don't think it's going to make an insane amount of difference because the offensive line is so bad. So even when they try and make adjustments and change the scheme around him, can they adjust to it? They had penalties. They had Caden Wallace was in a what was the penalty?
He got a
illegal
call for
formation.
Holding. He got illegal formation, then he got 2 straight holding calls.
Yeah. So when they can't be disciplined, there's no reason for them to throw the quarterback out there, the young quarterback out there, if they can't be disciplined around him.
And like you mentioned, John, the bill comes due at some point, and it doesn't really matter who's under center. That offensive line is a problem. So that's why I'm hesitant about this. I just don't want to deal with just constant duress.
Can I point out one thing? Because we didn't talk about it at all. When the Patriots got to Aaron Rodgers to pressure him, what did he do?
Made plays, ran around it, and made plays.
He rolled out and made a lot of plays. Jacoby's avoiding sacks and keeping plays alive a little bit longer, but not being able to make plays. So again, he's limiting the bad, but there's almost no potential for good. I guess that's kind of where you're at there with Brissett. But again, I don't think.
But I do still think Rodgers tonight, his offensive line is better than the Patriots right now, and so that's the reason he's able to go out there and make some plays. And
also let him get out of the pocket.
Yeah, right. They at least allow him to get out of the pocket. The Patriots, the Patriots front today admitted that they weren't able to keep him in, close out the edge, and that's why he was able to get out and make some plays. Where the Patriots,
not a new problem,
right? The Patriots offensive line, Jacoby Brissett wasn't able to do anything. Maye made 1 or 2 more plays than him, but it's not like he was out there running 40 yards down the field or making a ton happen. It's still going to be difficult on a consistent basis. You're not going to be 100% up front, but it's going to be difficult for a consistent basis to make all those plays and make up for that bad offensive play.
How many times did we see 2, 3, 4 Jets defenders in the backfield at once? There were multiple plays where there was a meeting in the backfield of Jets defenders. So again, adding to your point, it's not like Rodgers where he's feeling some heat and then it's oh, there's no one over here, I'm just gonna roll out. There was nowhere for Jacoby Brissett to go.
Yeah, it's, again, as we said at the top, it's a problem that might not have a solution. So that's kind of the fear here is, I don't know what you do to fix it. You've got to roll out some patchwork offensive line against the Niners in 10 days. And it doesn't matter who's behind their quarterback. It's going to be scary. On the flip side of the ball, we'll talk a little bit about the Jets and what we saw out of Aaron Rodgers. Physically speaking, he looked like a different person than he did in the first couple of weeks, he looked old. And again, understandable. He's coming off of a major injury that there'd be a little rust, but he looked a little old. He looked old and slow and tentative in that first game against the Niners. A little bit better last week, but not. You saw flashes of what he could do today. I think you kind of saw all of it, including mobility and getting out of the pocket and running. And, we're not going to go as far as to say prime Aaron Rodgers, but this was a good quarterback that they faced today, which changes a lot about, what you can think about the Jets here, because after a couple of games, it's, I'm not sure. And now it's, again, it's the Patriots, but it's the Patriots who have a good defense, and Rodgers made a lot of plays and looked very Rodgers-esque tonight.
And I don't know how much better they would have been if Jawan Bentley was in the game, right? And Mayo mentioned after that it doesn't look like he's going to be back for a while. But 8 incompletions for Rodgers. He was working the crap out in the middle of the field with not only his tight ends, but also his running backs. When they got running backs on linebackers on the outside, they toasted Jelani Tavai. They had Raekwon McMillan in a blender when they got it to their running backs. And so he understood that the Patriots linebackers and coverage were weak and took advantage of it. And then he obviously had a bunch of completions to Alan Lazard. He had the one for the touchdown where he put Alex Austin in a spin cycle. The one to Garrett Wilson, which was great. Like, he just looked like he had total control of the offense all night long. And number 8's back for right now anyway.
His best throw didn't even count. There was some penalty. I don't know if it was holding, but it was early in the game. He threw a deep throw into the end zone. It hung up in the air, and I'm like, I wonder where this is going to land.
Oh, yeah.
And it hit his receiver on the hands. I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, I've been saying all week that Rodgers is still that dude. He may not be mobile, but he can still put the ball wherever he wants. That throw, I was just like, I don't know why no one's talking about this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hype him up if I don't have to, but that throw was stupid. But at the same time, Rodgers exploited their weaknesses, but the Patriots needed to do better. The tackling was unacceptable. You had, like, before Garrett Wilson, he made Gonzo miss once. Obviously, the Alex Austin. John Jones missed some tackles. Raekwon McMillan looked really rough in space. Jelani Tavai, before he had the suplex, he had gotten juked by Breece Hall. And I think that's
a stupid penalty.
I think that's why he did it, because he was like, oh, I got you this time, MFer. And then it was just like, oh, I'm sorry. When he was holding Breece up, I'm like, oh, God, please don't do something stupid, because it felt like he was a little pissed off. And then obviously had the penalty, but Jelani Tavai acknowledged they gave him way too many soft edges. Tavai said he got greedy, went inside on a linebacker. That gave Aaron Rodgers an escape route early on. They had Daniel Equale trying to set the edge on some plays where, like, Joshua Uche was dropping back, or they ran twists. That didn't work. You had Keon White giving up the edge once. Like, you can't keep doing this. And I know they're playing pocket passers, but these are experienced pocket passers who, if you let them roll out and buy time, they'll do it. Geno Smith killed them with it last week, and it's happening again. So it's the tackling. It's the letting Aaron Rodgers get outside the pocket, getting moved off the ball at times. Now, the run defense, I think, did figure it out later in the game, but there was a stretch there where they looked bad as well. So bottom line, the fundamentals were lacking. I asked Jelani Tavai if it had to do with the short week. He didn't want to bite. Ramondre Stevenson did acknowledge that the short week had something to do with at least the offense's lack of energy. So you have to think, well, your fundamentals are shot, and you're a defense that very rarely is bad on fundamentals. And we've seen you perform well in that regard, especially his tackling. Like, they had the coverage breakdowns in the DPI on Marco Wilson last week that basically gifted the Seahawks couple of touchdowns. But, I mean, this was just a completely different thing where you are just breaking down, and they didn't practice this week. We saw it was just walkthroughs. They didn't have pads or anything. I think that may have had something to do with it, but still completely unacceptable performance from this defense. Second week in a row that you just need to see more from the group that we keep saying, oh, they're one of the best defenses in the league. Mina Kimes is trying to hype them up on ESPN. They made Mina look bad. Friend of the show, Mina Kimes.
They did
now because they just didn't do anything they were supposed to do tonight.
Mina, right before are we sleeping? Yeah. Are we sleeping on the Pats D? She said, yeah.
We talked about Tyler Conklin this week. Tight end who isn't that good, isn't very good. He's bounced around. I think he was at the Patriots at one time. Guess Tyler Conklin's stat line tonight.
5 for 80?
93.
5 for 93?
They allowed Tyler Conklin to get 93 yards on their defense. This defense that's supposed to be one of the best in football, which, again, I think it is, but they are, like the offense, dealing with a lot of injuries. Well, they obviously traded Matt Judon.
That got bad at the end.
Yeah, it's gotten bad. Peppers goes out, obviously Bentley, so, like, it's just...
Alex Austin got
hurt. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, guys, because this was my other headline from tonight, rather than, okay, we saw May and whatever happened, was exactly what you guys were talking about. The poor effort on defense, the sloppy, the missed tackles, the late hits, whatever you call it. But the most concerning thing out of all of this, and again, I'll say this, I'm so surprised by Patriots fans being surprised with what we're seeing on offense, because I don't know what it is you expected from this group at this point, given what they've got back there. But after 2 weeks, we definitely gave Mayo and the coaching staff a lot of props for having these guys ready to play and going out there and like playing professional football, and the whole run through the wall stuff and the way they were after week 1. The stuff I heard after this game is a far cry from that. Well, we just didn't have it and we weren't hustling, and I don't know why we came out with no energy. What? Yeah. How do you do that? And again, short week is short week, but when your opponent is also on a short week, there's really no excuse. Right. You guys didn't get jerked around. Everyone plays Thursday night football. It's just part of how it goes. You can't be as bad as they are and have a low energy, low effort game, because that's kind of bailing on your coaching staff here way earlier than you want to hear that kind of stuff. I understand late in the year after a 2-14 start to the season, and you're like, they're mailing it in now. But I didn't love hearing that, like, and the shoulder shrug of like, I don't know why we didn't come out like that. We just didn't have it.
The turnaround from, like you said, 2 weeks ago, where best conditioned team, we worked our butts off in training camp. We work harder than you.
Take him to the hill.
Run the hill. You guys don't. We're better than you through the fourth quarter. That died tonight, for lack of a better term. Like,
that died.
That was nothing. They were not disciplined.
Yeah.
They were not disciplined. They did not seem to care down the stretch in this game. It was just, it was weak.
And I'm not Mr. Hot Takey. I don't like, the headline, the big drama, but really listening to those press conferences, I started to think like, this is so much different from where they started. I legitimately think that if they lose in San Francisco and are not competitive, this could get ugly very quickly. And, we were wondering, okay, they're so high and, they're so excited when they win. What's it going to be like when they lose? It's one thing like against the Seahawks where, okay, it was a close game. That's clearly a very good and talented football team. At least you were hanging in there. But getting embarrassed like this in their only primetime game of the entire season against a division rival, Jabril Peppers said it himself, like, this was not it. So I, frankly, am also going to be very curious to see what happens in San Francisco and after, and even how they speak this week, because I don't know how much buy-in you're going to be able to maintain after 2 straight weeks where your defense, the unit that even last season, until the very end of the Jets game in the finale, that defense was keeping you in every single game. Like, even in the blowouts, they were still doing as best as they could to keep games competitive. This was not that. So it's just way too different. I honestly am a little bit worried, and I hope that they can have a good week of practice and really retain that buy-in, because it's not looking good.
I did not love that for sure. And we'll get back to Mike and Tayler in just 2 seconds there. But that was something that was concerning. We have some of that sound. I will get it on the air in a little bit, and just want to hear it, because it was a little bit surprising to hear so many of the players say that. After all that we'd heard from them, kind of recapping everything from tonight. And again, the Patriots lose 24-3. They had less than 100 yards of total offense entering the final drive of the night when Drake Maye finally entered the game, made his NFL debut. Was relatively shaky, but that's what you would expect. Almost threw an interception on his first pass, ended up going 4 for 8 for 22 yards. A nice throw to Pop Douglas on 4th down, converted another 4th down with his legs, took 2 sacks, got hit scrambling once out of the pocket. So he hit the turf a couple of times, but he lived to tell about it. So you did get a taste of what he might look like out there, which would be a frazzled mess, kind of running for his life, but making some plays here and there. Jerod Mayo after the game was non-committal as to whether or not Drake Maye or Jacoby Brissett would play next week. So we are not entirely sure who the quarterback is going to be. Both guys speak. I wouldn't say both guys. Both Jerod Mayo and offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt will speak to the media tomorrow. I wonder whether we will see or hear an announcement there. I'm not entirely sure, but it is something we're going to look for, from those guys, and we will definitely cover it and bring that to you as well. Back to Mike and Tayler here. Any other thoughts here before we wrap this? And again,
Go for
I
it.
don't
I
know
have
where to go.
one.
What do you got?
Ramondre.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Third week, I said it in last week. I was like, eventually this is going to happen. It's going to come at a bad time. Now, obviously, the game was pretty out of hand. They were trying to come back. Who knows what would have happened or not. But that's 3 weeks in a row that Ramondre Stevenson has fumbled, finally lost it. When he was asked about it, he was just like, I got to hold on to the ball. And like, yeah, obviously, but I don't know. It felt like a little bit of a lack of accountability because fumbling was an issue for Ramondre earlier in his career. Even in 2022, we always think of the Bengals game where he fumbles right as the Patriots are trying to go in to score in the low red zone. I don't know if maybe it's because of the regime change or what, but this is unacceptable. He cannot fumble again this season. And we're talking about a team that really doesn't fumble much at all. Like if you go to last year, outside of the quarterbacks, no one was really coughing up the football. So that's an issue that's got to get squashed. You can't be coming out every game as a franchise back and put the ball on the ground.
They talk about it. Ball security is job security. That's a Bill Belichick special. Bill Belichick mentioned last week on his Underdog show with Matt Patricia that ball security is job security. And he said specifically to them, Ramondre Stevenson has heard that from me 1,000 times.
And it's funny because he says, apparently they're taught like you carry the franchise anytime you get the ball. What was Ramondre Stevenson's nickname? The franchise.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, but I don't think that was a coincidence.
Yeah, no, not at all. That is, those are aligned in the same. That was the reason that those both were said to him. But no, he, you got to hold on to the football. It's that simple. Especially again when it happens in 2 straight games and you get bailed out, you get lucky that it bounces your way and you get it back. To have that happen 3 straight games, he puts the ball on the turf. That is not good enough. That's something that they need to ingrain in those guys' heads because again, it happens tonight. I didn't even realize. This is just me kind of on a side note. When we were switching on the batter, I was looking at my fantasy score. Ramondre Stevenson had 0.3 fantasy points this week because he had 26 yards rushing and a fumble. Terrible. Not a good day for Ramondre. Not a good day for Ramondre.
No, it was not a good day for Ramondre.
Because of the fumble and because of the fact that they couldn't get the offense running through him, 6 carries, 23 yards, that's not going to do it.
I'm sorry for your fantasy team,
Thanks.
Mike.
Yeah, I don't like to bring up my fantasy football team, but it happened. It's
yeah,
seriously.
I didn't like Ramondre's vibe, but what I'll say, if I'm going to give an excuse here, he did get benched, and you do feel a little bit of shame when you do that, and they lost, and he didn't do anything. So sometimes you're just pissed off, and it might just be pissed off in the result more than lack of accountability. And again, I'm always careful to read too much into what people say after a game because I think it's an incredibly challenging and awkward thing that they're asked to do, which is when their blood is up after a game. 10 minutes later to have us idiots in their face, saying shit like, how did you feel? And so that stuff is rough.
Fair. Yeah, totally fair.
I don't like to overanalyze.
It's the same with the Gerard Mayo thing, leaving the door open for Drake Maye. They might not actually leave the door open for Drake Maye. At that moment, he's genuinely
just might have been in a haze.
I don't know what we're going to do. We got to see. And when we hear that, it's put it on the headline, put it on the front of the newspaper right now, put it on the website. Like, that's just what we do, and that's where it comes from. And again, on the other side of things, if he came out and said, no, Jacoby's our quarterback, kind of like what Dave Canales just did in Carolina, where he came out after the game on Sunday, said, Bryce Young's our quarterback, and then the next day they rewatched the film and they said, wait, never mind. It's like, you kind of got to keep the door open if you're just trying to be honest. And so he tries to do that. That's what he says, and we may go and run with it.
They might have had some veterans come into the locker room and be like, dude, we got to do something. So you never know, right? You sometimes you gotta gather all that intel and information. And you don't want to talk out of school because, again, exactly that. Jacoby's our guy. You look at it, you talk to Van Pelt or Kraft comes knocking on the door and it's like, yeah, Jacoby's not the guy. And be like, oh, okay, Mr. Kraft, so it's the door's clearly open. You're always with that. I'll say, if there was no doubt, then you just say it. The fact that he said it means, everything is technically on the table, even if it isn't necessarily going to happen, just based on the way he's talked about it up until this point. So, we'll see what happens there regarding the Maye situation. Would you guys imagine you could have a decision as early as next week? I can't see as early as tomorrow. I can't see that. But
I don't think so. I feel like it'd be kind of rash.
But we've got a problem. We got a problem because that's all he's going to be asked about tomorrow. And obviously he's not going to answer it tomorrow, but that's now become the thing. It would have been whether he said it or not. So I guess we'll close the show by asking you guys once and for all, but answer both questions. Will Drake Maye start next week? Do you think that's the direction the Patriots are going to go? And should he start next week? Answer both of those questions.
I don't think he will start next week. I think that prime landing spot is still the week after San Francisco. That's just kind of where I've thought this all along, and I think that's the direction we're going. They give Jacoby one more week, one more blowout, one more gaffe, if you will, and then go there. That's what I think. What should they do? I think that's what they should do as well. I think they give Jacoby another chance, give them these 10 days and get themselves right everywhere. Give Maye maybe even more than those 30% of the reps he's getting and continue to acclimate him in the offense, but give Jacoby a chance. Give Drake Maye another week to not have to go against that daunting San Francisco defense, which now granted they're dealing with injuries more so on the offensive side of the football. So that might even, never mind, I'm not going to call that a winnable game, but that might be a game where they might be able to keep it a little bit close. So long story short, I think the landing spot for Maye is still week 5 against Miami at home.
I'm on the same page. I don't think this is the week to play him, even though they do obviously have more time, because that San Francisco defense is not a fair unit to put your young quarterback in. And again, like you said, see if you can just put decent offense on the field after you get all this time to improve. Maybe you get some more health on the offensive line. I'm not sure. And also waiting an extra week could potentially help them with those offensive lines, with the offensive line situation. And I don't want to see Drake Maye out there when things are this bad up front. But I mean, you guys did make some fair points. I'm more open to it, really, just because it actually happened. Like, I can't pretend that it's not on the table anymore, even though Mayo acknowledged that he was hesitant to put Drake Maye out there because of the offensive line. So, and I still want to wait.
Well, quickly before we close, while I don't think they're going to do it, there's definitely a chance.
Oh yeah, for
this
sure.
Is like a 10-day break.
Opened the door.
This completely opened the door. The blowout into the 10-day week completely opened the door for them to potentially put Drake Maye on the field.
Yeah, I'm at a loss. I actually don't have an answer to either question. What they're going to do and what.
Come on.
No, meaning
what do you think they'll do?
I've always, like I said, I would have just gone Drake to start the year and just lived with the chaos because I didn't think he'd be any more ready after week 4 than he is now. So if it's a readiness thing, I would have just had him figure it out. But the problem is now the more you watch, the more you're like, this is gross because now you know exactly what you're subjecting him to. So it's actually, it gets harder to stay with that opinion. My opinion was play him week 1. What are you doing here? Like, this is what you do. Throw the kid out there and figure it out. It's going to suck, but that's what you do when you're a bad team and you draft a quarterback that high. But it's so unimaginably bad that I almost don't. I don't think he'll be ruined. I'm now starting to question what, if anything, is going to be gained. That being said, it's going to happen one way or another at some point, and I'll stick with that point. I'll stick with my guns there that I don't think he'd be any more ready in week 4, 5, 6, or 7 than he would have been week 1. Only difference in week 6, he'll have had 0 NFL experience, whereas if he'd played in week 1, he would have had more. So by week 6, week 7, he might have had some clue what he's doing out there. So I think you're delaying the inevitable. That being said, it's freaking San Francisco, and it's just against this line, it's almost not fair. On the road, so it is rough. So I will say that I'm going to stay with the week. I feel like everyone was saying week 5 felt like the right spot anyway. Once you got through this little gauntlet, I think that's probably it. But as you said, Mike, if I had to guess what they're going to do, I think they might. I think they might do it. I really do. I think it's possible. It's firmly on the table.
Gotham City strikes again.
Oh my God. It's firmly on the table. So I don't know. It's interesting, but this at least it'll give us something, right? At least it'll give us something.
Yeah,
and
something.
I am all over the place. To answer more definitive, I'm leaning that they will do it, and I'm leaning that they should do it, but I don't feel as strongly about the should part as I did at the beginning of the year because it gets worse and worse and worse to watch.
Funny that we both kind of seeded our points a little bit after today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you guys have met in the middle now.
Yeah. No, it's true. I never fully got it, but holy shit, man, it's bad. But
two things I'll say on that too is like it does feel like the 10 days here. Give it one more week, and then you almost have like 2 weeks until the Miami game at home. It's a soft.
Give him starters reps. This is what I would do. I would go 50% starters reps this whole 10 days or more, and give him a lot of reps. and letting Jacoby know this is going to be your last start, but we're going to the kid. Make it very clear. So we're going to start working him into the practices more because we're going to make a switch, and that's it. And then try to make it that Miami game, maybe. Or I don't know whether you can do that to somebody, but I think you just start to behind the scenes, you start to prepare Maye as if he's the starter, even though he doesn't start in San Francisco. Maybe that's a play because you do have this extra time and extra reps where you can do that, and you're not rushing to get ready for somebody here after they heal up for a couple of days. Maybe that's what they do. So we'll see how it goes.
We shall see how it goes.
We'll see. Yeah, what's the over under? I can't wait to see the Prize Picks more or less on Bosa sacks. Next week.
4.5. Take more.
Take more. Take more. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. We're good, guys. Thanks for hanging out. These guys are in the Meadowlands. It's
137 in the Meadowlands, baby. Let's go. Get me to bed.
This is what we do. Check out CLNS. Check out the CLNS Media website and our YouTube channel for a lot more stuff, more content coming from those guys in the Meadowlands doing a great job. Tayler Kyles, Mike Kadlick. Of course, I want to thank also behind the scenes Jackson Tolliver, a producer in the studio, Amit, super producer out in the field, rigging everything. He's got all the moves. He's got the buttons. He's got the stuff. And Rich LeMay out there in the Meadowlands as well. We are traveling large, CLNS Media, with 4 people out covering the team on the road. So thank you to everybody for their long day and their long hours. And thank you to you guys at home for watching us and staying up late with us as well. We do appreciate it. And as we said, check out our YouTube channel, our website. There's a lot more content to come. You'll have podcasts, post-game podcasts, post-mortems. Tomorrow, I'm sure, Patriots Daily, Bedard, all of those guys. Check out Patriots Press Pass. Until then, we will see you later. Have a good night, everybody.
Adios.